And I think we can benefit from it. Strong enough to bear the burden that sometimes comes from living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decision when I'm standing at the fork of the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. Have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have enough of mind and body to live a life of grace and holiness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. Let's everybody get on your feet, come on. Say, I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. One more time, let me hear it. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. Good morning.
And good morning, good morning. Once again, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, where we are an open and affirming science of mind community, where the vibration of love lifts you, the wisdom of the ages inspires you, and the science of mind teaching inspires you. We believe that heaven and hell are states of consciousness that you experience in this lifetime, and that you are the architect of your life, and that it is never, ever too late to know true happiness. I would like to thank some very special people. I'd like to thank Don Lee Martin, all the way up in Canada, for hosting our SOME Sunday. Thank you, Don Lee. And leading our meditation and being our practitioner of the day, Mr. Reverend Neil Pinkman. And of course, Ty, the band, the choir, and everybody else. Joe. We don't thank them enough, but we need to thank them. So, all right. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ty for our opening chant.
You bring your day, I bring my night. You bring your love, I bring my light. We are the earth, the stars and sun, and all are one. You bring your thoughts, I bring my words. We are the sea, the song of birds. We fly, we dance, we crawl, we run, and all are one. Immersed in God, where all are love. Immersed in love, where all are God. We bring our joy, we brightly shine. With all our flaws, we are divine. And at the end, we've just begun, and all are one. You bring your day, I bring my night. You bring your love, I bring my light. We are the earth, the stars and sun, and all are one. Immersed in God, where all are love. Immersed in love, where all are God. You bring your thoughts, I bring my words. We are the sea, the song of birds. We fly, we dance, we crawl, we run, and all are one. We bring our joy, we brightly shine, and with our flaws we are divine. And at the end we've just begun, and all are one. Immersed in God, where all are love. Immersed in love, where all are God.
We all are one. There is only one. One mind, one God. But what I know is that as each of us is that individualized, wonderful, exquisite, beautiful expression of that divine mind, that we bring forth a uniqueness, an expression, and a sharing of that love. God is love. Love is God. If there's only God, there's only love. And so what I know right here and right now, that this is a community based in love. It is now, it was, it is built on that, and it always will be. And this expression here that we come together for today, that we join together as a community, together, reminding each other of the love that is in each of us, but also in this community as a group. I know that it expresses beautifully and wonderfully here this morning through the music, through the words, just through the vibration that spreads from each person to each other person here today. And we carry that out of here. We leave that with us. We leave that as we take that with us as we leave, and we move forward with the rest of our day, knowing that we have become re-inspired to know that we can express this love any way we want. And what we take with us is the knowing of possibility. That from this place of knowing, from this deep faith in what we have and the teaching that we have, that anything is possible. That's an exciting place to live, and an even better place to live together. So I release these words into that power and presence, that power that's a greater power than I am, but I know that I can use it. I know that I am part of that power. I release these words in enormous gratitude into that power and presence, knowing that it always says yes, knowing that the power and the presence is the love and the law. So right now, please join me in saying, and so it is.
Immersed in God, where all our love. Immersed in love, where all our God. Join in, find your voice. Immersed in God, immersed in God, where all our love, where all our love, immersed in love, immersed in love, where all our God, where all our God.
Beautiful. Thank you again, Thai band choir. And now it is time for our affirmation for the month of April. And to paraphrase David Letterman, in the studio, use your programs. At home, use your Zoom chat. And read along with me. I let my gentleness reveal my giant self. There is one God, one divine intelligence. It is in all, as all. I am an individualized expression of this all. I have the faith of God instead of merely a faith in God. Active faith and dedication to our principles bring into form the life I was meant to live. I know that under divine law, all things are possible, and so it is. Thank you all.
All right, and now what we have done in the past, we're going to do a reading from the textbook today. And today's reading comes from page 162. As Ernest Holmes says, because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by precedent, we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished, and few miracles result. When through intuition, faith finds its proper place under divine law, there are no limitations, and what are called miraculous results follow. If we are to have an active faith, the faith of God, instead of merely a faith in God, our thought must be centered in universal mind. We are convinced that under divine law, all things are possible if we only believe and work in conformity with the principles of that law. Such a faith does not spring full-orbed into being, but grows by knowledge and experience. No matter what the outside appearance, we must cling steadfastly to the knowledge that God is good, and God is all, underneath, above, and round about. Thus, we shall be able to say with conviction, I know in whom I have believed.
Oh, how about that? That would be helpful.
Whenever a change is gonna come, it starts with me. When all of my ducks are in a row, it allows me to see whatever I need is there just waiting for me. To step in and start right now creating whatever I see. It's time for transformation that heals my private nation. Whatever I can be, all I need is to see. It's time for transformation. It's time for change. I open my heart to space that clear comes to me. I'm ready to start. I know whatever I need is there, just waiting for me. And start right now, creating whatever I see. It's time for transformation. Let it heal my private nation. Whatever I can be, all I need is to see. To go, do whatever you're led to do. Have faith, you'll become the real you. Say whatever you're led to say. Do whatever you're led to do. Have faith, you become the real you. It's time for transformation to heal my private nation. Whatever I can be, all I need is to see. It's time for transformation. Let it heal my private nation. Whatever I can be, all I need is to see. It's time for transformation.
Richard is on piano and a great band. That was fantastic. You were great. And I love watching Richard play the piano because he goes into this other place. It's amazing. Now you're going to be self-conscious because we're all going to watch it. Go ahead, go. No. Should I put this down? Below the chin. All right, somebody help me?
No. There you go.
All right. That's better. Hi, everybody. Hey.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. It's time for class. For those of you old enough to remember the old Cheech and Chong, Sister Mary Elephant, class. I guess I'm alone in that. All right, that's all right with me. Eclipse jokes. A son and dad are talking, and the son says to the dad, "Dad, can you explain to me what a solar eclipse is?" And the dad said, "No, son." That takes a moment to sink in, but you get there. Why aren't teachers letting their students out to see the solar eclipse? They don't want to hurt their pupils. Boom, boom. I know we should have planned it. Why does everyone care about the eclipse? Probably because its significance is astronomical. All right, I'm done. I'm done with those. How many of you felt the earthquake? Oh, yeah. Right? That earthquake was about 30 seconds long, and there were 6 aftershocks.
11.
Oh, you read 11?
11.
You read 11, yeah. Hey, let's say 30. There were 30 aftershocks. But, you know, the main one was 4.8, and I'm sure we all have our story of what was happening when we felt that. It was pretty amazing. And tomorrow is the eclipse, which people are freaking out about, even though we have an eclipse every 18 months, approximately. It's as if we have never had one since the beginning of time. Suddenly everything, just like we did at Y2K. Again, for those of us old enough to remember Y2K, but the eclipse is 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So I thought, you know, like that 30 seconds of the earthquake, when we were standing outside thinking, what the heck just happened? That's how long, 30 seconds is how long it took to remind me that we're not in control of everything. We're not in control of everything. We work really hard to be in control of everything. We work really hard to be at control of the world around us and try to control the outcomes and try to control everything. But nature reminds us constantly, you ain't in control of everything, right? We want to be, but you know, as a minister, so what I like to do is and I'm sure many of you do, being on the spiritual path, we don't just think, hey, earthquake, hey, eclipse. We think, what is the meaning? What meaning can I draw from this, okay? And I think it's significant that we had an earthquake and an eclipse kind of almost at the same time. In the span of eternity, it's almost at the same time. In human 3D time, it was a couple days apart, but you get what my drift. And when you look at it that way, when you think about an earthquake and an eclipse kind of at the same time, it's like, wow, what does this mean for me? Now, I'm not saying the earthquake happened for me. I'd like to think it does. I'm a double Leo, but it didn't happen just to me. So I like to think about, though, what does it mean? What meaning can I draw from this? I don't believe that everything happens for a reason. I honestly don't believe that. But I do think that I can find a meaning for everything that happens. And so I was thinking about it, and I thought the eclipse, in a sense, represents the outer world happening to us. So things that happen outside of ourselves that happen to us. When things are sunny, it feels great. But when an eclipse comes and the shadows come, it doesn't feel so great. When we get fired, when things outside of us happen to us that we don't like. The earthquake, on the other hand, would represent the inner self, that inner part of ourselves, that the things that are inside our own inner earthquakes, if you will. I've certainly had things happen to me, and it has felt like an inner earthquake. Maybe nobody on the outside could see something that was happening, but on the inside, it was as if an earthquake was happening to me. And I was thinking, I was kind of having fun with it too, just thinking about the songs, that when we look at some of these songs, especially the cheesy 80s songs, again, for those of you who can remember, that, they're kind of cheesy until you are on the spiritual path and you listen to them with a different ear. And I have had moments in my life when I have had a total eclipse of the heart. I mean, Bonnie Tyler, well, my beloved Bonnie Tyler. I'm a big Bonnie Tyler fan. But like when things happen, when I got dumped, which is how I found Science of Mind, by the way, a really big dump. Oh, let me say that again. Can we edit that out of the video, please? That's a total eclipse right now. Okay. But when I got dumped by a person and was driving around, I accidentally stumbled into the parking lot of a place like this. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, but it felt like a total eclipse of the heart. I couldn't feel anything, all that. And then I've also had, I've had wonderful moments when I have felt the earth move under my feet, earthquake, right? But I've also had times when it felt like I've been standing on shaky ground, right? And I've also had things that have kept me up all night that have shook me all night long, like AC/DC said, one of my favorite bands. So, symbolically, these things can actually have meaning for us on a spiritual level. There is a paradox on the spiritual path, and the paradox is that we are both powerless and powerful at the same moment. And it's great to remember both and to hold both, and they both actually are important. We might be powerless against earthquakes or against eclipses, but maybe we can then turn inward and say, well, what do we have power over really? That's when we gain understanding. We have tools that help us, but our ego, of course, wants to feel powerful over everything. But that's not real power. Real power is learning how life works and how we can use the tools to make our life better. So there's an old Irish joke, which I've told a couple times before, but it probably is if push comes to shove, it's probably my favorite joke of all time. And it's, of course, with the Irish priest, Paddy. Paddy always comes up in these jokes, right? And you've heard me tell this before, but Paddy was driving into the city and he had an appointment to get to and he needed a parking spot. And he was driving around and couldn't find a parking spot and driving around and finally said, "Oh, Lord, oh, please give me a parking spot, Lord. If you give me a parking spot, I promise I'll stop looking at the ladies, Lord, okay?" And he drives around, no parking spot. And he's like, "Oh, Lord, please, Lord, if you give me a parking spot, I'll stop looking at the ladies and I'll stop betting on the horses. I'll stop doing the betting, Lord." Drives around, no parking spot. He goes, "Okay, Lord, if you give me a parking spot, I promise I'll stop looking at the ladies. I promise I'll stop betting on the horses, and I'll give up my favorite thing in the world, the Guinness beer. Please, Lord, just give me a parking spot and I'll give up all these things." And at that moment, the heavens parted, the light comes down, and there in front of him, where there was a stream of cars and no parking spot, it is as if the earth moved just enough to create a parking spot directly in front of Priest Paddy. And Priest Paddy sees the parking spot and looks up at the heaven and says, "Never mind, Lord, I found one." Now, what's so great about that joke? I think besides being a good joke, what's great about that is that when we use spiritual tools and things happen, we forget that it was the spiritual tools that made the thing happen. We think we did it. Just like Patty forgot that it was actually his affirmative prayer that made things happen, his spiritual mind treatment. I used to think that was such a joke until I met with somebody who sat down with me in my office, and he said, I just had this horrible thing happen, and I know that you're a minister, and do you mind if we talk about it? And we talked about it, and we talked it through, and I said, oh, well, what you had was an opening experience. Like, life is now opened for you. This is a really important thing. Let's pray affirmatively so that great things happen and very specific things happen. And he said, that's great. And we prayed, and he spent like 2 hours in my office. I mean, we really went through this whole thing, and he left, and he said, I just feel so open and so changed. The next day I saw him in the office, and I said, come on in. How did things go? And he said, oh, no, everything turned out fine. I'm sorry I wasted your time yesterday. He was Patty the priest with the parking spot. It worked. And he just discounted it. Anyway, so when we use spiritual tools, sometimes we think that we don't need them because they work, and other times we forget that, how powerful they can be for us. So there are 3 spiritual lessons we can learn from the earthquake and the eclipse. First is that sometimes we're powerless, but there is a power greater than ourselves, clearly. Spiritual lesson number 2, we can only control ourselves and our own experiences. Ugh. I remember that first church I went to, Reverend Marjorie Stamm said, that first time I had ever been exposed to this stuff, and she said, we are each 100% responsible for our own lives. And half the audience went, woo! And the other half went, oh, dang. But the whole point was we actually have tools that we can use, but we are responsible. And number 3 is the spiritual we have tools. So number 1 is there's a power greater than us. Number 2, we can actually only use them on ourselves, which is why practitioners are taught when they treat, when they pray, that they pray for themselves outward. I don't pray for you, I pray for the spiritual condition, which I then join with and then know it for you. I of me cannot change your life, but I of me can recognize the power which raises the vibration and the energy for all of us, including the person that's sitting right in front of me, who then the next day forgets it and tells me, I'm sorry I bothered. I'm not bitter about that. I'm giving that up. So if that's true, if all those spiritual thoughts are true or spiritual lessons are true, then if we think about the fact that we are the only people we are 100% responsible for as an adult, then it comes down in our teaching. There's more to this, life is big, but in our teaching, in a nutshell, in an 18-minute talk, it comes down to 2 things, our thoughts and our actions. And we are called the science of mind. Thoughts, because thoughts are where we connect with the divine. That's our conscious thought. Now, we teach an intelligent philosophy that can actually have a profound effect on your life. Many of us have experienced that. And I always tell people who first start this, beware, because this actually works. This stuff actually works. If you work it, beware, because it will work. And when it starts happening in people's lives, some people like that crowd, some people are like, woo, and other people are like, what's going on here? Because it works. I remember years ago at a different center that I was at the time, I took a friend of mine who was a very unhappy person, and I thought, you know what, she would really benefit from this center that I was going to. She would benefit greatly, thinking I had control over another person. And so I took her, and when it was over, I looked at her just so excited, and I said, so what'd you think? And she said, I didn't like it. And I said, why didn't you like it? And she goes, because everybody here is just too happy. And that's when I learned the lesson that you can't make an unhappy person happy because they're happy in their unhappiness, right? We can't control other people. I did, though, mention this to somebody else years ago who was complaining and complaining and complaining. And I said, well, you know what? Here's what we believe. And he said, after I explained things, he said, oh, I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe any of it. And I said, well, Give it a shot. What do you got to lose? Your debt, your unhappiness, your negativity, your victimhood, your addiction? What have you got to lose? And he was speechless when I said that, and he tried it out. And he now is an active member at the center in his area. When we get it, when the light clicks on, it really does work for us. Now, there was a, thoughts, right, that's where I'm at. Thoughts are important, and thoughts are important in part because we think so many negative and mean ones. I was in class at one point, and a guy said, my parents were so cruel to me. They were just abusively cruel. My friends all betrayed me. My girlfriend dumped me. Everybody, my boss fired me. Everybody's been so mean to me. He said, but the person who's been meanest to me in my life is me. We are so mean to ourselves at times. We're vicious at times in our thoughts. So it is important to pay attention to our thoughts. And it's important because what we think about matters. There's a guy who I hear is a really good guy named the Buddha. And the Buddha said this. He said, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. And with our thoughts, we make our world. There was another good guy named Ralph Waldo Emerson. I didn't know him personally, I'm not that old, but I hear he's a good guy, and he said, a person is what they think about all day long. And an emperor, Marcus Aurelius, said, a person's life is what their thoughts make of it. And Earl Nightingale said, we become what we think about. And James Allen, one of the pillars of New Thought teaching, said, as a man thinketh, so he is, or simply put, as we think, so are we. So why is this important to know that our thoughts make up who we are? Eckhart Tolle, another author that many people have read in The Power of Now, says, if you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place. So it's important to work on the inside, the thoughts that we have inside of ourselves. We work them like people who are here, there are these things called gyms that people go to, and they do that to exercise the body, and it's important that this is the gym of our mind, where we get to exercise the mind that we have so that we might have a better experience, or as Eckhart Tolle said, to help our outside fall into place. Now, how do we do that? That's important. I often quote Napoleon Hill when he said that we have 7 times more negative influences coming to us than positive ones. So therefore, I think it's important for us, I think it's probably higher than 7 times, by the way, at this point, but it's important for us to flood our minds with positivity and with truth and with the things that we want to make happen. And one of the ways we do that is by reframing or shifting our perception. There was I can't remember where I heard it, but there was this great story about a guy who had a dog. And he had this fantasy with his dog of, they would go on these long walks together and the dog would just behave perfectly and wonderfully and all of that. And what happened is he got the dog, but the dog only wanted to go from tree to tree to tree, sniffing. It was a big sniffer dog. And it was so frustrating for him, and it got worse and worse, and he finally did some research, and he discovered that there are breeds of dogs for which sniffing is significant. Sniffing for dogs is, for some of the breeds, is like Facebook for human beings. They know, oh, Mitzi and Muffy have been here, and let me say hi to them back. And, but it really is important. And in fact, sniffing can wear out certain breeds of dogs the way that walking can do other breeds. And so he got it. He was like, oh, my dog isn't thwarting my joy. I'm seeing this incorrectly. So then he shifted his mind from, I'm taking my dog for a walk and failing, to I'm taking my dog to go sniffing and succeeding. Shift in perception. So that's important, and perception is important. Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning and is a famous Viennese psychiatrist, neurologist, and survivor of the Holocaust, said famously, Everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Well, coming from him, that matters. That matters, because we've probably not had an experience in the same way that he has, and when he can say it, I can believe it. He also said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I like to think that I don't want to wait any longer to be changed that way, before every other option. I want to change for positive rather than be pushed into change. And then he said, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. So that's the why, but then comes the question, how? And in our movement, we often would say, start with prayer. I would say, don't start with prayer. Not because I'm a contrarian, I'm not, but because I think that sometimes our minds can be so jumbled that a tool that I use and that I know you use and several other people, who else in here uses? Who else is in my Artist Way group here? Is it just you and I today? Usually there's like 3 or 4 of us. In the Artist Way, Lee has been in one, in the Artist Way, which is a process and a program created by Julia Cameron. She says start your day using what she calls morning pages. You get a notebook, 3 pages of handwritten journaling as soon as you wake up, absolutely as soon as you can wake up. And it has to be by hand, not by computer. And what she says is it's a brain dump. You wake up and you get all the gunk out. She says Jungian psychologists tell us that we have 45 minutes when we wake up before all of our walls and our guards start rising and protecting us from the world. So she said, use that 45 minutes to empty out the stuff that is within you. And when you empty it out, now you're fresh and you can start your day. So that's what I do. Before I do prayer or meditation or anything else, is I do the work of digging out the stuff, the debris, the poison that's inside of us. And it's powerful. Yes, Giovanna? You think it is, right? So that's what I do. But then we move into what we teach here in our center as a spiritual mind practice, which many of us, most of us, and probably those of us listening know about already, which is a 5-step affirmative prayer, where we begin with the knowledge of oneness. We start in oneness, which is really fantastic. When we do that, when we first maybe use morning pages or any form of journaling to empty out the gunk so that we can be open to being aligned with the principles of affirmative prayer, we can then really allow that prayer to go deep within us. We have just lifted our own internal vibration, our consciousness so high that we have a different day than if we didn't do it. That is powerful. Just that alone is powerful because it changes the course of our day, and our day then changes the course of our week, which changes the course of our month and years and eventually our life. What could be more important than that? What could be more powerful than that? What could be a greater tool to begin with in our day than to begin with a place of openness and oneness? I mean, just meditating on that will bring tears to my eyes. It's so important. So that's a how for our thoughts. And with actions, the actions, if we don't do that, are at one level, but when we raise our consciousness and then take action, it's at a whole different level, and we tend to act differently. We tend to take different actions. So you remember I told you about those good guys, the Buddha, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and the like? Well, there was another good guy, I hear, named Aristotle. Again, didn't know the guy, but I hear that he was a good one. And he said something a little bit different. He said, we are what we repeatedly do. Not think, but do. I think it's a both and, yin and yang. You need them both. But he said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence in our life then is not an act, It's a habit. So we can get into the habit by raising our vibration, by raising our thoughts, by raising our spirits to the highest we can at any given moment, and then acting from that place. And when we do that, that has a powerful effect as well. So I put down all sorts of actions, but just in the interest of time, I'm just going to tell you one of them, and it comes from our Artist Way group that we did yesterday morning. And we did a modified version. How many of you have ever done gratitude lists? All right. How many of you do them every single day? Okay, for those of you who've done them a lot or every day, how many of you find yourselves oftentimes writing the same things? Yeah. Okay, which is great that you have those things stay in your life, but sometimes I have found myself thinking, what else can I be grateful for? You know, like, how can I find other things to be grateful for? So we did an exercise that I created called the multitude of gratitudes. Gratitude is a little different than gratitude, by the way. I mean, it's the same thing, but you can be grateful for something, but you can also just be glad that something exists, right? And by being glad, you're showing a form of gratitude. So this is the multitude of gratitudes. And what we did is we created a bunch of different topics, and we numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under each one of them, and we came up with 5 things that we're grateful for or we're glad about those topics, and it was all over the place. We did food, we did whatever. One of them was people, and the idea was with people, you can't put down anybody you've put down before. You can't put down family or friends. So we came up with some really great ones. One person said that they were grateful for the person at the CVS they go to a lot because that person recognizes everybody, knows everybody's name, and is so friendly. That's great. I thought of Maria and Carlos, the 2 people who run the diner I go to once or twice a week, who are they know everybody who comes in, and I just walk in and sit down. I tell them hi, I don't have to order anything. They know me so well, they just bring me the food I want, and she'll say, do you want it for the boys? And I'll say yes, and so they have a takeout that I take home to my family. I'm so grateful for them because they make my life so great. So that's one thing. Another category was inventions. What inventions are you grateful for or glad that were existed? And that came in my mind because I had watched a TikTok where somebody was talking about the history of can openers, which does not sound, I can feel it. People are like, so what? It doesn't sound interesting. But like Richard's piano playing, it was so fascinating to watch. It was really great, actually. And I found myself like, yeah, I'm glad we have can openers. Wait, I'm glad we have cans. Wait, I'm glad somebody figured out how to can. Wait, and I just started going on a thing. So we came up with things, and I thought I would just show you a few of those things. So I told the group early on, years ago, I used to be grateful for whiteout. For those of you, do you remember whiteout? Because otherwise you had to rip the page out and start all over, but whiteout meant you didn't have to do that. Okay, I'm grateful for Post-it notes. Whoever invented Post-it notes. I am grateful for soap. People died before they really had soap. When soap would just clear up an infection, people died from it, which leads me to, I'm really grateful for toothpaste. I watched that show like Outlander or Vikings. When they kiss each other, they didn't have toothpaste or toothbrushes. How disgusting is that? I'm thrilled about toothpaste.
You're thrilled that yours.
Need I say more? Indoor plumbing. Right? Showers, hot water, That's great. Air conditioning in New Jersey and heating. I'm grateful for electricity and lights because I can read at night or do those kinds of things. Somebody in the group said, was this you, Giovanna? Back scratchers. Hers was the bamboo kind, all that. I'm really grateful for glasses. Can you imagine what life would be like if we didn't have glasses, what it was like before? Pens. This is the Conklin, by the way, Giovanna, that I brought. So, and I'm grateful for my car. I'm grateful for bags. I'm grateful for every gosh darn thing there is, okay? So what's amazing is that was fun for us to do, and yet it lifted. I could feel the Spirit lift. Simple things like gratitudes can lift us, and then we have a different experience of the day. So, in summary, earthquakes, eclipses, outer and inner, the other way around actually. We can't control everything. We can control ourselves through our thoughts, using things like journaling or affirmative prayer, raising the vibration, and we can control our actions. Raising our vibration first creates different actions, which creates a better life. As Eckhart Tolle said, where did he say it? He said it somewhere here. He said, if you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place. That's what this meant for me. When I did a mind experiment with earthquakes and eclipses, that's where I got to. I'm so grateful for everybody here. I'm so grateful that we have this center that brings light and love to people, and I'm grateful that it's continuing and growing and just doing great things. So let's take all of this gratitude, the multitude of gratitude, into, take a deep breath with me, and let's just take it all the way in. We can enjoy ourselves and learn deep things at the same time. Not all learning has to come through pain. But everything that happens to us, whether it's from the outside in or the inside out, we can find meaning for ourselves, to lift us up, to learn and grow, and to bring what we learn to others. That is truly a miracle in action. So right now I start where we always start, which is the one. That great creative power, the power that is way beyond even our imagination, so infinite and powerful that it is awesome. And we join with that power, we align with it, and we realize that we were each made from that power. We are each unique manifestations of that one power. That's amazing. And when we know that, when we come from that place, the rest of this affirmative prayer is easy, because then we know that we are guided and led always to our greater good, always to our wholeness, always to the life expression that we were each uniquely created for. And I know this for myself and everyone listening, that we listen to that and we allow ourselves to open more than we were before. We understand that we have our thoughts in alignment with the one, and then our actions in alignment with our thoughts, so that we create the highest experience we can create today, right here in the now. We listen to the teachers that came before us and know that we are in the now creating this great experience we call our life. And with this as our truth and releasing it into love and law, I know that it is true for each one of us right here, right now. And together we say, and so it is.
You like the night of faith, screaming, feeling you, give it to God, make you like the night of faith, surrender all, give it to God. can't say it's all good. Every challenge that comes my way, I handle it as I should. My mind, my body, my spirit are now functioning as one. Now my heart is wide open to give and receive unconditional love. Make you like that act of faith. Surrender all. Give it to God. Make you like that act of faith. Surrender all. Give it to God. You affirm it. Believe it. Claim it. Achieve it. First you gotta, then in your heart, just name what you want, and you know that you can. Oh, you can. Just name what you want, and you know that you can. You can. Oh, your heart. Oh, you know it. Say what you want, and you know that you can. And you're in your heart, well, you know what you want. Oh, you know that you can. You like that act of faith. Surrender all. Spiritually, give it to God. That act of faith. Surrender all. That was not new. That's an old new one. Weren't familiar with you, to you. And this next song is a brand new song of mine. And just wanted to preface it before we get into it. Strangely enough, well, not strangely enough, the universe always supports what we do, right? So after writing this song's a couple months old, but just the other day, I was reading 365 Days of Richer Living, which I read every morning, Holmes and Barker. This was April 3rd, page 96, and the title was, "Today I am living in heaven, working with joy and sharing my good." Okay, so that was this is leading into the song. So here's part of what it says. "My present world is heaven, for my thought is centered on God. I am already in my good, and now I search for my present world and find it." It also goes on to say, "God's presence in me looks out through my eyes and sees God's own glory about me. My world is alive with beauty." It also says, "I dwell in God's perfect and complete creation. All that I will ever need is where I am." And lastly, it says, "I love to love with the love of God. I love to live in a world of order. I love to let divine ideas sustain me. Today I am living in heaven, working with joy and sharing my good with each one I meet. I am enfolded in God, expressing God, for all is God." Now to end that and to get into the song. Last Sunday was Easter. And one of the old traditions that many of us grew up with was the Easter egg hunt. And it is said that the best way for people to find something or not to find something is to hide it in plain sight. And that's what this song talks about. Took me a minute, right? Staring in the mirror, can't see my own face. I'm looking at abstractions of thought and time and space. I see them like a puzzle, the pieces thrown about, but when put in proper places, we'll sort the mystery out. We live our lives in wanting, we long for paradise. We fail to see the magic that's right before our eyes. It seems that we must die first to find our Eden Galilee, when heaven's all around us, but our eyes can't see. We are here in heaven, already here in heaven. All our needs have been met, all the gifts of this world are given. We are here in heaven, already here in heaven. It's as near as our hearts now apart from where we're living. When my mind's not clouded and my soul's in tune, I see the awesome genius that made the sun and moon. I know all is provided, wasting neither time nor space. Something tells me this is heaven, when we live in grace. Someone with a broken soul conjured up this scheme, convinced the world of nightmares instead of pleasant dreams. Clearly look around yourself with eyes that see the truth. Remember who you really are and what's inside of you. We are here in heaven, already here in heaven. All our needs have been met, all the gifts of this world are given. We are here in heaven, already here in heaven. It's as near as our hearts now apart from where we're living. We are here in heaven, already here in heaven. All the gifts of this world are given. Oh, we are here in heaven, already here in heaven. It's as near as our hearts now apart from where we're living. Thank you. Hiding in plain sight, people. Unusual service, right? 2 songs at the end. Ooh. Yes, we invite you to get up off your seats. consider one more time. Consider a life